Mandy, tell us, what is a C1D visa and who is it for?
Such a great question, Rob. A C1D visa is really for persons who are going to be working on commercial sea vessels or international airlines in the United States. And generally what I've seen is that embassies and consulates issue the C1, which is for transit, and the D visa for crew members together, which is why it's called the C1D.
Now, what kind of eligibility do people have after previous denials or prior refusals?
Prior denials can be a problem, and it really depends on the reason why the person was denied a visa in the first place. This varies from person to person. And so to answer this question, we really have to find out why someone was denied their visa. If it was a reason like they were not prepared for their visa interview, they did not know how to properly frame their situation for the consular officer, that can definitely be addressed at the next interview, but the person has to be prepared. They have to know how to overcome that previous visa refusal with proper framing the second time, and that's exactly what we do at Argo Visa.
Hey friends, welcome to Chine Coaching. I'm Rob, and at Chine Coaching, we love helping people be successful in their cross-cultural journeys, especially visa interviews, getting that approval. We've got our amazing guest, Mandy with Argo Visa. Mandy, please introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, it's so nice to be back with Chine Coaching. I am a former U.S. diplomat and former U.S. visa officer. I've interviewed about 100,000 people during my career with the State Department in places like China and Mexico. And now I know exactly how visa officers think and how they make decisions at the U.S. visa interview. And so if you're applying for a visa and you're hoping that you get approved and you want to minimize your risk for denial, today's episode is for you.
Definitely. We've made other amazing videos with Mandy in our visa interview playlist, so check those out. But today we're talking specifically about the C1D visa, how to get it approved, what to do if you've been refused, and how to really help you ace that interview. So, Mandy, what are some important things about this C1D interview people need to know about?
The C1D visa interview for crew members, again, people who are working for international airlines, who are working on commercial sea vessels. I think the thing to know is that visa officers expect that you have a certain amount of expertise about the position that you're going to be working in. One of the things I noticed a lot when I was doing these C1D visa interviews as a visa officer was that people really didn't seem to know all that much about their position. And that always surprised me. And that kind of put those people at risk for visa denials. And so if you're someone who is committing, weeks or months of your life to working aboard a ship or on an airplane, the visa officer is going to want to know some specifics about what are you going to do? How did you come to get this job? Did you have to do any types of special training? Do you have any paperwork that shows that you are eligible for this special type of job? Because I think visa officers know that not anybody can just walk onto a ship and work on the deck. Not anybody can go and pilot a commercial aircraft. So they want to make sure that you are actually eligible to do what you say you're going to do. So you need to be prepared to talk about it.
Definitely. Knowing the specifications, kind of your job description, what the day-to-day is going to be like is really important. Make sure you get that information. Now, how can people best prepare for this kind of visa interview for the C1D?
For the C1D, I think it really starts out surprisingly with paperwork because, usually for other types of visas, consular officers really don't like to look at paperwork. However, for C1Ds, they do usually like to see that you have an employer letter, if you're working for United Airlines or Cathay Pacific, that you have a proper letter from your employer. And sometimes if you're working aboard a ship, you will have a seafarer's book, something proper that has your photo on it. It's very standard across the industry. So you want to make sure that you have the paperwork prepared. And usually the employer that is employing you will give you a checklist of everything that you need to bring to your visa interview.
Definitely. Those are some great tips. My friends, if you're learning some great stuff in this video, hit that like button to say thanks to Mandy, sharing these tips for the C1D visa. And our chai questions for you guys is, what other questions do you have about the C1D visa interview process? Let us know in the comments. I would love to see your guys' thoughts, feedback, that we can help each other out there in the comments. But what do you want to know more about the C1D visa? So while we want to see you guys get approvals, rejections do happen. So Mandy, what are some of the most common reasons for a rejection?
I think a very common reason for rejection is when a visa officer thinks that someone is not actually properly vetted for their position and doesn't really know what they're going to be doing. And I think there is a disconnect because a lot of times visa applicants are actually ready to do the jobs, but no one has ever asked them candidly, what are you going to be doing on the ship? Or, tell us about your day to day activities as a crew member. And people have been doing their jobs for so long that they have never had to explain to someone who's not familiar with the industry exactly what that looks like. So that's definitely something to prepare for. The other thing is American officers sort of expect you to do a little bit of a pitch. Tell us in just a few sentences exactly what you'll be doing. And if you're doing something like reading word for word from your employer letter, or you've had, something memorized from some sort of website from your, Carnival cruise ship or something, that is not really going to be convincing to the visa officer because it is going to sound very memorized and canned. And this is a very candid discussion. Really, what is transpiring and happening during this visa interview is you are convincing the visa officer whether or not to trust you. And so, in order for them to trust you, you can't just be repeating something off of a piece of paper. You have to listen to the question. You have to answer the question specifically. You have to be convincing. You have to be confident. And this is actually a much tougher process than anyone expects going in. And so this is what we love doing at Argo Visa. We really listen to how you answer questions. We give you advice and strategy, and we let you know what, when you answer that question, I didn't really feel like you knew what you were talking about. Let's flesh that out a little bit. And we really like to do those mock interviews with you so you feel absolutely confident at the end of it. So you know that you'll get approved and you know exactly what to expect.
Yeah, just clear, confident communication is so important in American culture, whether
Yes.
it's a job interview or a visa interview. So that's what recruiters, hiring managers, and visa officers are going to be looking for.
Absolutely.
And so if the unfortunate situation happens where someone is refused, what are tips after a refusal that people can do to kind of as next steps if they still want to pursue this overseas?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, in these situations with a C1D, there's two types of refusals, right? You can get denied for a C1D and you want to try to apply again, or you can be someone who was denied a different type of visa, but now you got this great job opportunity on a ship or, on an airplane, and you want to go ahead and get approved. Both types, you're going to have to really prepare because once you have a visa denial in your record, the next officer is going to be able to review the notes on that denial, and they're going to have questions in their mind already. So it's going to be more difficult than someone just going in for their first interview. So what I always recommend for someone who has been denied a visa is as soon as you've been denied, go home and write down everything that happened during the interview. What questions were you asked? What were your answers? What actions did the consular officer take? Did they type for a long time? Were they looking into the computer? Did they then leave their chair, go somewhere else and come back? And all of this is very important in piecing together the exact reason why you were denied, because guess what? The visa officer is never going to tell you at the end of the interview, these are the exact reasons why you're denied.
Yeah.
And they know not to do that because if they did, you would argue with them and tell them that they misunderstood or they need to give you another chance. And so this is their way of being efficient, of getting you out of the visa window so they can interview, the 100 other people who are in line. So again, go home, take a full transcript of everything that happened. And then what you can do is get prepared for your next interview so you can address the exact deficiencies in your first interview. Because if you're going to go again and do exactly the same things you did the first time, guess what? You're probably going to get the same exact result. So if you have been denied, this is the time to work with an expert, figure out exactly why you were denied, and then you can go in and tackle those specific issues that caused the denial and give yourself a much better chance of getting approved at the next interview.
Definitely. And this C1D visa seems very unique, sometimes complicated. And I know that Argo Visa, you guys have so much experience. So how can you help people prepare for an interview, or kind of bounce back after a refusal to maybe still get a good response?
Yeah, when we were visa officers, we've approved so many visas. We've also denied a bunch of visas, unfortunately. And so we know exactly what it takes firsthand to get a visa approved. This is not something that anybody else can do. I wouldn't be able to do this if I hadn't done my job for 7 years, interviewing visa applicant after visa applicant. And so what Argo Visa really does is we take the time to understand your full situation, how one visa category for your application for one visa category relates to the next one. We help you come up with a narrative and a strategy that is not only true and authentic to who you are, but really brings out the strengths in your case so that the visa officer is willing to give you another chance. And this is so important because it has to make sense from the American visa officer's perspective. And it's very difficult to do on your own. And luckily, you don't have to do that by yourself and take wild guesses at what's going to work, because every single application is going to be something that's in your record. So you want to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward, getting the best expertise, firsthand experience from former visa officers who can give you your best shot at getting that visa approved so that you can, achieve your dream job on this vessel or on this airline. And we're here to help.
I love it. Yeah, my friends, I'm a huge fan of Argo Visa. They're a China Coaching approved partner and service. We've loved the feedback and the benefit that they offer for people going abroad, acing those visa interviews or troubleshooting those stuckage problems that they face. And so, yeah, check out the link that we've got in the video description about how you can book a coaching call with Mandy and colleagues like her who've interviewed hundreds and thousands of people and have that expert experience. Mandy, thank you so much. I learned a lot. This was a new visa type for me, and I know this is going to be a big help for our community.
Thanks so much for having me, Rob. I love helping the China coaching community, and we're here to help. You can always visit us. Please check out the link below. And we look forward to seeing you on our Argo platform, helping you succeed at your US visa interview journey.
Definitely. And as I said before, we've made some other amazing videos with Mandy before as well. So check those out in our visa interview playlist. We've got so many comments in there saying, hey, Rob, hey, Mandy, thanks for these. I aced my visa interview just by watching these videos. So make sure you get all the tips you can. Again, check those online as well on social media, on LinkedIn, Instagram. I know that Argo also puts a lot of awesome tips on their Instagram page, so check that out as well. We've got newsletters that you guys can subscribe to for more resources and live events and fun things. Occasionally we go live with Argo to answer your live Q&A questions. And we just love having you guys tune in, being a part of the China coaching community, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.
See you next time.